What's up? Welcome in, guys. Good morning. Yeah, it's a morning edition of the Chiefs Zone podcast. We usually don't do a podcast in the mornings, but breaking news calls for times like this where we do a podcast at obscure times. And yeah, it's not a good one. It ain't good, as the Kansas City Chiefs have traded Joe Thuney. Yes, this was not even a thought 24 hours ago, or even this morning when people were waking up, unless you're all the way out in the West Coast. Nobody saw this coming. This one definitely a surprise to a lot of people, but Joe Thuney has been traded to the Chicago Bears, and the Chiefs in return have received a fourth round draft pick, not for 2025, but for 2026. So Kansas City trading Joe Thuney. This is freeing up $16 million in cap space right now. This trade will not be official until March the 12th, when the new league year begins. That is also when free agency gets underway as early as 3 p.m. So the way it looks right now, again, because the trade is not official, Joe Thuney, whose cap number is almost $27 million, trading him frees up $17 million, and the Chiefs currently at $18.1 million. So we'll talk about that here on this podcast. Also going to react to Travis Kelce as he announced that he's coming back, and also dove into the explanation that led him to making the decision to come back. Though I think it's pretty obvious at this point, but we still wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. So we'll touch on that as well here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to have a lot of questions, comments, things you guys want to get into here regarding the Joe Thuney trade to Chicago here. I want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. Yes, it is the NFL offseason right now, but there's a lot of stuff coming up right now. We've got the NCAA tournament happening later this month. Right before that, right here in Kansas City, we've got the Big 12 tournament, both the women's and the men's Big 12 tournaments happening here in Kansas City, downtown at T-Mobile Center. Speaking of T-Mobile Center, next month is going to be a TKO takeover. Got PBR, got the UFC, got WWE Monday Night Raw, all of that coming to Kansas City in late April. You can get all those tickets over at SeatGeek. And if you want to save a little bit of money, you can use my promo code FARZINE and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. New customers at checkout can put in my promo code FARZINE and save $20 off their first order from SeatGeek. Okay, I see you guys watching live. I know a lot of people probably were not expecting the podcast to come out this early, at least for those watching the live version. So definitely, like I said, breaking news today. So it's going to be a different podcast in terms of the time that we're going to have it come out here. So that's okay. Just kind of the way things pan out here. We'll still do our Red Friday live chat. That'll be this Friday. And a lot of things to go over. As I'm sure a few more details will come out regarding the Chiefs and everything else involving this trade. Some other reports that are coming out regarding Kansas City and some players that might not come back. So we'll get into all of that. Let's start with Joe Thuney here. And I know this is not one that anyone saw coming in Kansas City. I think there were a couple of people that thought, hey, he might be a surprise cut, like a cap casualty, because of the near $27 million cap hit, cap number right there, rather specifically. But in terms of cap savings, trading him frees up $16 million in cap space there. And that really helps out Kansas City right now. Not at this moment, because this trade cannot be official until the new league year. So the Chiefs still have to do some things in terms of restructuring deals before they get to that point. But man, I think that the irony of all of this is, hey, the Chiefs went out there and freed up cap space, and they did it by trading a guy like Joe Thuney. But this is a player they desperately need. So how do you justify that Joe Thuney was the right player to move on from? Because if you look at Kansas City and their current cap saving situation, in terms of who they can move on from, if they were to trade Trey Smith, which there's been some speculation on that, but a lot of the reports have come out that the Chiefs are optimistic that they'll get a deal done with Trey Smith. Now, what we never heard was that they're optimistic they'll get a deal done with Trey Smith without having to sacrifice anyone. We never heard that kind of report out there. because if you were to trade Trey Smith, that would free up almost $23.5 million in cap room. Doing away with Travis Kelce would have freed up $17 million in cap room. I was saying earlier, it would not be the worst thing in the world if the Chiefs were to deal with him retiring. Leo Chenal, Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, all guys from the 2022 draft class at $3.4 million, but there's no one else really in between. You have Thuney, whose cap saving is at $16 million, which the Chiefs will free up officially once free agency gets underway. Trey Smith at $23.4 million, and Travis Kelce at $17.25 million. And then after that, if you really want to look for another player for cap savings, you would have to go as low as George Karlaftis, Leo Chenal, and Jalen Watson. Again, 2022 draft picks who are all at $3.4 million. And I don't think the Chiefs want to go to players who are currently on rookie deals. That's just not the smart way to go about it. Sky Moore, I've heard some people say, well, what about letting Sky Moore go? Well, he's at $1.5 million, close to $1.6 million. Brian Cook, who's also from the 2022 draft class, is at $1.5 million. And then Rashee Rice at $900,000. Wanya Morris at north of $1 million. You get the idea. There aren't a lot of other options to go to right now. Listen, if the Chiefs want to free up cap space, someone had to go. Unfortunately, it's a player who is the best at his position in Joe Thuney. And I know a lot of people are not happy with the compensation in return here, and I'll get into that shortly because I'm not happy with the return either. But we've seen this scenario before, have we not? We saw it with Tyreek Hill. I'll never forget where I was. It was the day after my brother's birthday. I'm in Cancun, Mexico. Literally, my toes are in the damn sand. I'm just looking out into the beach, and I get a notification. The Chiefs are looking to trade Tyreek Hill. And I thought, okay, this has to be a glitch or fake news. Like, this can't be real. Come on. And then 2 hours later, he gets traded. All I'm doing at that time, literally laying down at the beach, reading all these tweets. Chiefs Twitter was a firestorm. Chiefs Twitter is kind of a firestorm this morning, not as bad as it was on March 23rd, 2022. But again, the Tyreek Hill trade is not the only one. We saw L'Jarius Sneed get traded almost a year ago this time. And now, 12 months later, Joe Thuney has been traded. The Chiefs also let Tyrann Mathieu walk. Listen, Kareem Hunt, they cut him several years ago when he looked like he was just getting ready to enter his prime at that time. Now, all those players I mentioned have been traded, cut, or they let them walk for different reasons. But my point is this. The Chiefs are not afraid to do away with all-pro, Pro Bowl elite players. They're not. I get a lot of you guys are pissed off about the Joe Thuney thing, okay? I mean, that's not a player that anyone is thrilled to move on from. Nobody. Find me one person right now that's thrilled that Joe Thuney's gone and is no longer part of the offensive line. Nobody. But I will say this. I think we've got to relax a little bit, me included, and let's just let Brett Veach do his thing. Now, has Brett Veach gotten the offensive tackle position right? No. I'd say earlier on, the wide receiver position, he wasn't really doing well with that. But over the years, I think he's figured that out. Rashee Rice, I know he got injured, but I'd say there's still a lot more positive things you can say than negative. Xavier Worthy, phenomenal rookie season for him. A lot of people thought he was not going to be good because of his size. So I think the wide receiver position has been figured out. Once Rice comes back from his suspension, then things are going to be all systems go for that wide receiver group right there. We'll see who they can bring back. Obviously, Hollywood and Hopkins are still out there. But you traded Tyreek Hill. And it's weird because in in the events leading up to Super Bowl 57, the week of Super Bowl 57, I should say, the two biggest things everyone was talking about that week was Donna Kelsey and the Kelsey family. And the other one was, how the hell did the Chiefs make it here without Tyreek Hill? Because that was a huge deal. The 2022 season started off with, how are the Chiefs going to play football ever again without Tyreek Hill? And the more the Chiefs kept winning and winning, it turned into, the narrative turned into, holy shit, the Chiefs are doing just fine without Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes won MVP that year almost unanimously. 2 votes did not go his way. He got 48 of the 50 first place votes. And one of them was kind of, it was a vote for Josh Allen, but it was more for a way to say that the Bills medical team was the MVP, which I kind of think is a weird way to use your MVP vote. There are ways to still praise the medical team, but that's not worth really debating right now. My point is, he almost got the MVP unanimously that year. And then here's what happened. 9 months later, my math might be a little off, but somewhere around that age right there. Maybe 10 months. I think 10 months is actually more accurate. What happened? Marquez Valdes-Scantling dropped a wide open pass against the same team, the Eagles, who they beat in the Super Bowl 10 months prior. And Stephen A. Smith the next morning on First Take is doing the whole, well, you should have paid Tyreek Hill. And then what did Stephen A. Smith do a year later? Which, by the way, the Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl that year. And now Stephen A., after saying the Chiefs should have paid Tyreek Hill, is pretty much blaming Tyreek Hill, maybe not blaming, but criticizing him for his post-game interview after that game the Dolphins lost to the Jets, saying, well, you should have stayed with Patrick Mahomes. It's like, man, narratives change pretty damn fast. My whole point is this. Were the Chiefs not supposed to suck? No, seriously. Weren't the Chiefs supposed to be like one of the worst teams in the NFL? I kept hearing all offseason long, the Raiders, they got Devontae Adams, and that forced Tyreek Hill out of the AFC West. Well, the Raiders are going to run the table now in the division. I don't think the Raiders have even dug themselves out of the bottom half of the AFC West since they got Devontae Adams, who, by the way, got traded to the Jets and just got cut by the Jets. So that didn't age well. The Broncos that same offseason got Russell Wilson. The Chargers bulked up on defense a little bit, getting Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. And the Chiefs still dominated the division that year. They went 6-0 that year in the division. Got the number 1 seed. Went on to win the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. And then when L'Jarius Sneed, the Chiefs, they're in trouble. Okay, I said after that trade, I said the defense statistically is going to take a step back, and they did. But it wasn't enough for the Chiefs to, start losing a bunch of games. They won 15 games. They only had 1 true loss in the regular season last year, but the Chiefs still found a way to reach the Super Bowl. Obviously, it did not end the way they wanted to do. The way they wanted it to end, not at all. The Chiefs are still reaching the Super Bowl every year since trading away Tyreek Hill and L'Jarius Sneed, winning 2 of the 3. I'm saying 2 out of 3 since they traded Tyreek Hill. Sneed's only been off the team for a year, and they reached the Super Bowl without him. And by the way, I know people keep saying, well, the Chiefs could have used L'Jarius Sneed. Okay, but you're giving a hypothetical because the reality is the Chiefs traded Sneed and he got hurt. He only played 5 games. The Chiefs won the Tyreek Hill trade. There was no logical person with a brain that can tell you the Chiefs did not win the Tyreek Hill trade. They won it. It's not even close. The Chiefs have reached a Super Bowl every year, winning 2 of the 3 without Tyreek. The Dolphins haven't won a Super Bowl since they received Tyreek. And I don't want any excuses about Tua's injury. What you invested so much in one wide receiver and it hasn't panned out your way. And you already gave him a pay raise. That has not gone very well for Miami so far. And listen, I don't care all the damage control interviews Tyreek Hill has done since then. You can't fake that kind of emotion because people tried to do this with Devontae Adams in Vegas. Tyreek's not happy in Miami. This is not an inside source. All you have to do is watch that interview right there. He was not happy about his current situation. While his former team played all their backups because they had the number 1 seed back locked up. I still, again, my whole point with the Tyreek Hill thing, is that the Chiefs were supposed to, wasn't that supposed to be the start of Kansas City's downfall? Because they had a really heartbreaking loss in the AFC title game to the Bengals. And so they trade Tyreek Hill, and people think, oh, Travis Kelce's going to get double teamed and he'll never be good ever again. No. Travis Kelce went on to have a great year. Mahomes won MVP that year. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year. They avenged that loss to the Bengals a year later in the AFC title game. 364 days after losing to them, they avenged that loss. All without Tyreek Hill. Defensively speaking this year, and I know the Chiefs' pass defense was not as good as it should have been, but they still had some good moments. They still made some big stops when it really needed to. Turnovers, it could have been better. Took a long time for them to start get going on that. But they still, at the end of the day, did what they needed to do to help win 15 games. And this was not a perfect season. Far from it for the Chiefs. Yeah, they won 15 games and reached the Super Bowl. A lot of close games. And I know people want to talk about, well, if they went the other way. Well, they did it, though. They didn't. The Chiefs still reached a Super Bowl, and once again, they're still a powerhouse team. Now, I will say this. I have made this prediction for a while now. I don't think the Chiefs are going to go back to the Super Bowl next year. We'll see what happens. I know there are a lot of people out there saying, well, until someone else proves otherwise, okay, fine. I get that. I do. But here's my thing right now. The Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill. They traded away L'Jarius Sneed. They let Tyrann Mathieu walk. They cut Kareem Hunt several years ago when the footage came out, and that was when Kareem Hunt was getting ready to hit his prime towards the end of his second season. I mean, the Chiefs have done away with a lot of players, great players. Here's my point, because I know Joe Thuney, this is not a player you can afford to lose in terms of football need, especially on the offensive line. Oh, I think we've kind of beat that topic to hell about how the Chiefs need to do everything possible to protect Patrick Mahomes. And in doing so, they just let a left guard go so they can open up their cap room. Well, you didn't have any other options. Your only other big option was Trey Smith. And you can't really let him go because that guy's a very young right guard who just had his best season and has been remarkably healthy and available for you his entire 4 years in Kansas City. Travis Kelce, I mean, I suppose it would have been a little ideal if he were to retire. Still would not have solved all of your issues, but could have done away with him. Guys, I see people I've gotten these comments all week long and also today. Well, why not Jawaan Taylor? Jawaan Taylor, trading him, releasing him, none of that stuff helps you at all. Well, trading him, I will say, you free up $12.6 million, but who's trading for him? If you really want to trade Jawaan Taylor, you need to add a first-round draft pick and probably a third-round pick, because no team is willing to take Jawaan Taylor off your hands, and you probably still have to foot some of that contract. That's just not, it's a bad contract at the end of the day. If you were to cut Jawaan Taylor right now, you go deeper into the hole with the salary cap by $7.4 million, and you'll have nearly $35 million in dead money there. That's not something you want to do if you're Kansas City. You just don't want to do that right now. But if you're Kansas City, let's relax a little bit here. Have we not seen the Chiefs move on from great player? I mean, what have I been talking about this entire podcast so far? In the 19 minutes we've been on, we've been talking a lot about the Tyreek Hill trade and how the Chiefs were supposed to have this epic downfall. Yeah, that never happened. L'Jarius Sneed, that trade was supposed to spell the end of Kansas City's great defense. That didn't happen either. So I think this Joe Thuney trade, as much as this one hurts more than the Tyreek one, because that is a serious position of need right now, let's relax a little bit. I think Brett Veach has earned our trust. Not that our trust is some serious stamp of approval for the Chiefs front office anyway, but I think we can, relax and shut up a bit and just let Brett Veach do his thing. I will say the one thing that if I had to criticize, it's the 4th round pick from 2026. Okay, you want to say, okay, 4th round is the best we can do? Fine. I get that. Because this guy's Joe Thuney's going to turn 33 in October or November. I think it's November. No one's trading you a 2nd round pick for an aging guard, as great as he is. No team's going to do it. But a 2026, that's the one that doesn't sit well with me. I wanted it to be this year because there is going to be a lot of turnover this year. Because I don't know if Nick Bolton's coming back. And I know that's not what anyone wants to hear, because I know there are a lot of Mizzou fans out there. By the way, Mizzou's having a hell of a basketball season. Worth putting out there. I'm a huge fan of Nick Bolton. I mean, the guy, he was a huge reason why Isaiah Likely could not stay in bounds in that week 1 game. And his run stopping ability might be the best among all linebackers in the NFL. The way I know everyone wants to talk about in that Falcons Sunday night game, how the Chiefs got away with pass interference. Well, the Chiefs went 3 and out, gave the football right back, and they gifted the Falcons 3 penalties consecutively. One of them was a phantom interference call on McDuffie. So as far as I'm concerned, you can call that the makeup call. But on 4th and freaking inches, when the Falcons need a 1st down to extend the game, they have a crack toss to their left, and Nick Bolton blew up that play. Chris Jones and Leo Chenal plugged the holes, and it was Nick Bolton who blasted through for a 4-yard loss on 4th and inches with the game on the line. Yeah, that's the type of player Nick Bolton is. So he's going to get his money. But I don't know if Nick Bolton's coming back. Yeah, I see you guys in the comments talking about potential restructures there. The Chiefs still have work to do. I mean, their work is not done just because they traded Thuney. First of all, this trade is not official until the new league year, and you have to be under the cap space before the new league year begins. And right now, the Chiefs are at $18.1 million. So this Joe Thuney trade doesn't necessarily help you until March 12th at 3 p.m. Central Time. So Thuney is technically still a Chief right now, but the Chiefs have things to do before then. Part of it could be extending Trey Smith and trying to see if you can backload that deal. I will say that's easier said than done, because I think from Trey Smith's standpoint, he's worried that he could be a guy who could be a surprise cut sometime down the line in his career. So he probably wants that guaranteed money, or at the very least have that front loaded, because he's a 6th round pick. This guy did not make a lot of money in his career. How much money has Trey Smith made in his 4 seasons with the Chiefs as an elite 6th round draft pick? I'm trying to look it up right now. His base salary, so close to $6 million. Trey Smith has made $6 million in 4 years. Clearly underpaid for a guy playing that well. $6 million in 4 years. Poor Trey Smith. $6 million. What you gonna do? I mean, in reality, though, that is underpaid in the NFL. So the Chiefs, they chose to extend Creed Humphrey. His contract was supposed to expire this offseason, but they got it done before the regular season got underway. Harrison Butker, a very reliable kicker for you, who was supposed to have his contract expire this offseason. Got it done before training or middle of training camp, kind of. So the Chiefs have been able to get some of those deals done. Trey Smith, which, by the way, Noah Gray, they got done right before the season or after week 1, one of those times. I can't remember, or somewhere around that time. The last one they're probably realistically going to do is Trey Smith. How they do it, front load, back load, or they even it out all the way through, that I don't know. Ideally, it would be the back load so they could have some free space for 2025. But I have a feeling Trey Smith won't agree to that because he's been underpaid for a while. So that kind of leads me to Travis Kelce. That's $17 million cap saving right there. The Chiefs can definitely do some things with that. Obviously, Mahomes is another guy right there who you could restructure. There would be a lot of cap savings done through that. Here's the one thing I have to ask, though, if you're Patrick Mahomes, because, I think there's this thing where you have to honor contracts, per se. How long is Patrick Mahomes willing to do that? I'm not sitting here saying Patrick Mahomes is a selfish guy and that he's not a team player. Not at all. I know he's not. But I'm also being realistic here, and that, there's a reason why he does so many endorsements, and there's a reason why his wife Brittany, I mean, you can tell she's promoting a lot of things on her Instagram, and I'm sure those things are not done for free out of the generosity of her heart. No, she's getting paid for those. How much is she getting paid? That I have no idea. My point is this with the Mahomes family. I mean, they have, and Brittany's been open about this, they have a lot of cars. They have a lot of houses. And they fly privately. The amount of, I've looked this up before, and it does vary based on the type of jet and the location, several other things. Those things are not cheap. And they travel frequently, very frequently. It's not a surprise. Those things cost a lot of money, and you don't want to have to keep restructuring and kind of wonder, can you still live that luxurious life that the Mahomes family lives? And I'm not shaming him for that. They earned it. That's the lifestyle they earned. That's the lifestyle they want. So have at it. But would Mahomes be willing to restructure? Because how much do you save from a restructure? And how much of that is going to be kicking the can down the road and trying to make up for that down the line? And what kind of a cap situation do you deal with then? I suppose you figure that out when you cross that bridge. But those are things to think about. Scott's asking, what about Nick Bolton? As much as I hate to say it, and as great as Nick Bolton is, I don't know if he's ever going to wear a Chiefs uniform again, because the Chiefs don't have a lot of cap space right now. I mean, this is the problem when you draft so damn well, people, is you deal with situations like this, which, by the way, leads me to my next point. When you're drafting so well, I guess you just kind of have to trust that, hey, if we can trade Tyreek Hill, L'Jarius Sneed, and Joe Thuney, maybe we can just continue to replace them through the draft. Now, who do they put at left guard is another question here. I know Kingsley Suamata, his name is being thrown around out there because the Chiefs did use him at left guard a little bit in that Week 18 game, which, by the way, that Week 18 game, as much as none of us really gave a damn about that, only people who really cared about that one was Cincinnati Bengals fans. That is a game you're going to now look back to and see what positives can you take from that. And I'll tell you why. I think you have to consider Hunter Orzad at left guard. Hunter Orzad was drafted as a center. Usually those centers can play both left and right guard. Interior offensive linemen, I mean, they're pretty flexible on those positions there. I think Hunter Orzad is capable of being a good left guard in the NFL. He was your 4th round draft pick last year. And for Hunter Orzad, I think this is somebody that the Chiefs can rely on, because if you go back to that Week 18 game, and by the way, yes, it was a preseason game for Kansas City, but for Denver, that was do or die. If they did not win that football game, their season was done, and Cincinnati was going to be in the playoffs. So if you're the Chiefs and you're looking at Hunter Orzad, he went up against a really good defensive front, by the way. Denver led the NFL in sacks, and his pass blocking was tremendous in that one. His snaps certainly need some work, but Creed Humphreys had some bad snaps. Not a big deal. But I think Hunter Orzad could truly be a good offensive guard for you if you want to give him a chance. I understand the Kingsley thing because this is a 2nd round pick. You traded up one spot to get him. I know it's just one spot, but it's still a trade up. You knew someone else wanted him, so you traded up to get that guy. I get not wanting to give up on your 2nd round draft pick that you traded up for. But I do think that you got to consider Hunter Orzad there. Samuel says Mike Caliendo replaces Thuney. Well, Mike Caliendo is a free agent right now. So I don't know if Mike Caliendo, first of all, Mike Caliendo, I will say this, in the regular season, Thuney at left tackle and Caliendo at left guard was working just fine. I thought it was working just fine. But then the playoffs came around. You saw Thuney struggle a little bit and got worse and worse as the postseason went on. Caliendo looked like he was in the middle of a fire drill, not knowing where to go during the playoffs. So I don't know how much the Chiefs really want to put Mike Caliendo in there. And I'm trying to cut the guy some slack because he was an undrafted free agent a couple of years ago. This is a guy who's never started a game up until the Cleveland Browns game. That was Thuney's first start. They did have him at left tackle in that Raiders Black Friday game, but Thuney, that was his first time starting at left tackle, and Caliendo's first start at left guard. So Kansas City, I mean, obviously they had to do some shaking and moving around on that offensive line there, specifically the left side. We even saw Wanye Morris play a little bit of right tackle. That was a little weird because Juwan Taylor got hurt. So I'm looking at our lads, which is a pretty good reference here for depth chart purposes and whatnot. Kingsley Suamata is currently listed as a right tackle. Now, I will say, I don't know if Kingsley's going to be your right tackle. I mean, Juwan, you're kind of stuck with him with that contract for at least one more year. What do you do at left tackle and left guard? I already went over left guard. Maybe Kingsley plays left guard. Maybe Hunter Norzad plays at left guard. What about left tackle? What is the viable option there? I put this option on the table before. Do they give Kingsley Suamataia another chance? Do they give Wanye Morris another chance? Do they give DJ Humphries another chance? Because your best left tackle since 2020. Yeah, 2020. That was Eric Fisher's last year with the Chiefs. Since then, you have not had a good left tackle. Your best left tackle since 2020 was Joe Thuney, and you just traded him. And I put on the table, could Joe Thuney be your left tackle in 2025? Obviously, the answer is no. But right now, you have two wide open gaps right there. I saw Chase Daniel tweet this. I think if you're going to do away with Joe Thuney and not be willing to pay him that money, you got to go all in on Ronnie Stanley. That elite left tackle for Baltimore. Now, the last time the Chiefs got an offensive tackle from Baltimore, didn't pan out well with Orlando Brown. This one be different, I suppose. The Chiefs need a proven left tackle. Do not draft a left tackle. As much as I think the kid from Oregon would be a good player at 31 if he's available there, which I think he will be, I don't know if that's the direction the Chiefs want to go in, because again, who have they drafted? Wanye Morris. They drafted Kingsley Suamataia. I mean, they just haven't really panned out well. They just haven't. I think one of the players who you drafted last year, you drafted 3 offensive linemen last year. I think one of those guys will be your starting left guard. And I think Ronnie Stanley is the guy you have to target at left tackle. By the way, I hadn't mentioned this. I think one reason why the Chiefs did not get a 2025 fourth round pick and instead got a 2026 fourth round pick, because the Bears are in their first year with head coach Ben Johnson, who was the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And I think the situation there, because they just traded for a guard yesterday, they traded for one today in Joe Thuney. I think the Bears are in a situation where it's like, okay, look, we got this talented player in Caleb Williams. Let's give him every resource possible. We're already giving him 2 new offensive guards to work with, unless they decide to shift someone around. We'll see. But we're going to give him every resource possible. We're going to go draft wide receivers. We're going to get him running backs. We're going to get him pass blockers. All those things needed to help Caleb Williams succeed starting this year. Even with a 4th round pick. I know a lot of people might say, well, it's just one pick. Yeah, Kansas City values every single one of those picks. Look at the 2022 draft class. I think every single one of those players, except for the player who's on the Eagles right now, I can't remember his name. I don't recall his name for the life of me. Anyway, all those players from 2022, McDuffie, Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Sky freaking Moore, for crying out loud, Josh Williams, Leo Chenal, Isaiah Pacheco. All of those guys, by the way, that player's name was Darian Kennard. All of those players have played a massive role for the Chiefs at one point or another, especially as rookies. McDuffie was great in 2022, his first year after coming back from injury. Karlaftis, after a very quiet start to his rookie season, he played on a whole nother level the second half of the season. Go look at the first 10 games and compare it to the second 10 games in 2022, including the playoffs. You'll see a far different Karlaftis. Brian Cook and Josh Williams, I'll never forget what they did in the AFC Championship game. I think it was Brian Cook who tipped the pass thrown by Joe Burrow, and it was picked off by Williams. In that same game, Jalen Watson, another rookie from that class, had an interception in the AFC title game. Isaiah Pacheco was great all year long that year. Sky Moore in that same AFC Championship game, after the Chiefs forced the punt, Sky Moore had that nice punt return, which later had that run by Mahomes with the penalty, which, by the way, was indeed out of bounds. It's funny, Bengals fans still try to justify that it was a bad penalty, which it was clearly out of bounds, a late hit. And then in the Super Bowl, Sky Moore also with that touchdown catch right there. Yeah, I know the play call, that's the one that gets more praise, but the player still has to come through and execute that play. Sky Moore, that was it 2022? Yeah. I think it was 2022. He had a couple of notable first downs in that game against the Chargers. A very close game the Chiefs and Chargers had that year. I think that was on Sunday Night Football. So, yeah, Connolly, here's the thing, Temple. I mean, you can find pros and cons about a lot of guys, especially the later. I mean, the longer they stay on the board and are available. That's the casualty of picking at 31, 32, 29, 28, 30 every year when you're Kansas City. I still remember the years when the Chiefs had a top 5 pick every year. And by the way, they shit the bed on a lot of those picks. Glenn Dorsey, Tyson Jackson, Eric Berry was a home run hit. I know he missed a lot of games because of injuries and his health, but I still think that was worth the pick at the time. I mean, the Chiefs, I mean, they had early picks quite a lot during the Herm Edwards and Todd Haley and Romeo Crennel eras. And they missed on a lot of those. I'm not saying Kansas City's been perfect in the first round. Obviously, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, sure, he's had flashes, but not what you don't want flashes from a first round pick. I guess the 2022 draft class certainly makes up for it. Xavier Worthy stepped it up, doing better than FAU. I mean, Kansas City is picking later in the first round than they have in years past. And it seems like they're doing much better with their first round picks now than they have in years past. You've had 4 first round picks in the last 3 years. I'm obviously not including this year because the draft hasn't happened yet. Xavier Worthy, Karlaftis, and McDuffie. Those are 3 first round picks you've had in the last 3 years. Your other first round pick, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, didn't pan out. We'll see. I don't think the Chiefs are giving up on him just yet, but the Chiefs, they'll figure it out. Caleb's asking, why is Sky Moore still on the team? Yeah, we talked about this earlier on in the podcast, and maybe you tuned in late and missed it. The reason Sky Moore is still on the team, number one, his cap hit is at what, $1.5 million? It's not anything bad. If you were to let Sky Moore go, well, then you kind of have to replace him with a veteran wide receiver, because the Chiefs wide receiver room right now is extremely thin. And I'll get to that in a second. But if you're going to do away with Sky Moore, well, then you got to go bring in a veteran wide receiver, and that's going to cost you more. So, listen, I know no one here is defending or is a fan of Sky Moore, but this is someone that right now is a good number 6 or number 7 receiver for your roster, given your cap situation and your personnel, which, by the way, looking at wide receivers, here are the wide receivers under contract right now in Kansas City, according to our lads. You got Rashee Rice, who is obviously, potentially facing a suspension to start the season. Xavier Worthy, and then Sky Moore. Okay, it's not a really good list. And Nico Remigio. Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mecole Hardman. Those 5 wide receivers are all set to hit free agency. Now, could the Chiefs bring back any of them? Yes. I think they can bring back Mecole Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster for a very low price. Hardman came back for a low price. Juju came back for a low price. Juju's career, unfortunately, has taken a very different turn. Not saying he's terrible, but he's just not the receiver he once was. Certainly not the production wise the same. And he's not really in position to demand a lot of money. Hollywood Brown was willing to play for a low price last year, and unfortunately, he missed a lot of games. Only played 5 games last year. He played for $8 million. Is that someone who's willing to come back for a similar deal? Because he and Patrick Mahomes established a lot of rapport last year in the offseason. I mean, there was so much hype behind Hollywood, Worthy, and Rice. And we never saw that trio together. We never saw them together. And who knows? I mean, if you re-sign Hollywood, which I really hope they do, hopefully everyone stays healthy with Rice coming back from his suspension, because that could really be a whole new ball game for Kansas City's offense, having those 3 together. But we'll have to see what happens there. I still think, Travis Kelce would certainly benefit from having a lot of those speedsters on the field, because I think that's when Mahomes would still be able to utilize Kelce more, even at 35, soon to be 36. But you got to have an offensive line, and you just traded away an elite left guard in Joe Thuney. Ronnie Stanley is probably the name out there that the Chiefs are going to go after. I know Cam Robinson. Did Cam Robinson re-sign with the Vikings? I don't think he did. I don't believe he has re-signed. No. And by the way, the franchise tag this year, very quiet year for the franchise tag. Only 2 players got the franchise tag, Trey Smith and T. Higgins. And I think you could argue, and I don't know who 1 and 2 would be for a lot of people. I think a lot of people will say T. Higgins 1. Some people might make the case for Trey Smith because of his availability. But without question, those are the top 2 players who are set to hit free agency. They both got tagged. I don't know who number 3 is, but there's a very significant gap between number 2 and the number 3 free agent this year. And so only 2 franchise tags were used. So a very uneventful offseason in terms of the franchise tag. Meaning a lot of players who currently don't have contracts right now, that are unsigned at the moment, could hit free agency a week from today, which is when the new league year begins. So if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, unless the Baltimore Ravens do something to keep Ronnie Stanley, I think Kansas City is going to go all in on Ronnie Stanley. But before you can even do that, you have to restructure some deals. I know Mahomes is going to be the big one right there. Kelce could be another one. Kelce, by the way, gets an $11.5 million bonus, an $11.5 million roster bonus a week from this Saturday. What is it, on the 15th, I believe it is? Yeah. March 15th, Travis Kelce gets $11.5 million. Is there any way the Chiefs can get out of that one? Would that help in any way? Because Kansas City would really need that right now. Listen, if you guys heard Travis Kelce's podcast this morning, and I have not listened to all of it because while I was in the middle of listening to it, that's when the trade news broke about Joe Thuney. I'll say this right now. Kelce, he talked about why he came back. First of all, he mentioned the bad taste in his mouth from the Super Bowl. Feels like he can do better. Feels like he let the team down at times. So he wants to go out on at least a better note. And if you want to go out on a good note, I mean, listen, if you're Kansas City, the standard is Super Bowl or bust. That is the way things are in Kansas City now compared to 7-8 years ago. But if you're Travis Kelce and you're very serious about wanting to go out on a high note, translation being, a Super Bowl win, I think you got to seriously take a pay cut. I know he's been underpaid for his entire time in Kansas City. But man, it's like, what can you do? How can you help this football team if you're that serious? Because I don't think Travis Kelce's money hungry. I mean, listen, he's never made more than $12.2 million until this past season. Is the money that important to Travis Kelce? I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't play for the money. I'm not saying that at all. He's always been willing to play for less for a long time. So in a way, this is kind of like a makeup year, 2 years rather, last year and this year, to be able to repay him and thank him for all those years he was willing to play for less. But you're in a very weird situation right now, to a point where, you know, if you don't restructure Kelsey, or if Kelsey's not willing to take a pay cut, Kansas City is not going to be able to do much in the offseason. They're not going to be able to bring a lot of guys back. Travis Kelsey mentioned on his podcast today, and again, he went into detail, talking about how much he loves Kansas City, wants to play for the guys, wants to continue working with Andy Reid, wants to continue to learn from him, all of those things. Basically gave you, the same answer any teammate would give, and explaining why he chose to come back. But he talked about how, certain negotiations are being done right now, and he also mentioned wanting to bring guys back. He specifically mentioned Kareem Hunt by name and says he wants to win a Super Bowl for that guy so badly. So you have Kareem Hunt, who Travis Kelsey is advocating for to bring back and to try to get him a Super Bowl ring, which came very close, but unable to do that. If you're Travis Kelsey and you really want to do all of these things, you want to bring back your boy Kareem Hunt, because they're both Ohio guys. They go back, even when Kareem Hunt got cut the first time, Kelsey and Hunt kept in very close contact. I think there was a charity softball event in Ohio. Both Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelsey participated in that. And they were seen hanging out quite a lot during that event. This was after Kareem Hunt got cut, before coming back for a second stint. So listen, if you're Kansas City, you got some things to figure out. I said this last year. I said there's going to be a lot of turnover. I did not think Joe Thuney was going to be one of those guys, but I thought that there was a possibility that between Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, I said one of those guys would come back, one would not. It looks like they're both going to stay unless you trade Trey Smith. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm not going to dismiss that either, because that does free up almost $23.5 million in cap room. Kansas City kind of needs that right now. I'm not saying that's the right move. I'm just saying, from a cap standpoint, the Chiefs need to do something. Again, I know restructuring Mahomes is going to be one big step. If you can do that with Juwan Taylor, that could free up close to $8 to $9 million. By the way, a couple of comments. People are saying Chris Jones said he'd be willing to restructure. When did Chris Jones say that? Did he say that during Super Bowl Media Week? I don't think he ever said that. There are reports that he might be willing. That's not really him saying it. Yeah, I don't know if Chris Jones restructures. I hate to say it, but and here's the other thing too. The Chiefs are paying a lot of guys a lot of money. Obviously, they paid Mahomes at the time the biggest contract in NFL history. They gave Travis Kelsey a big pay raise last year. Well, what else have they done? They made Harrison Butker the highest paid kicker in NFL history. Okay, it's not bad. That's just a kicker at the end of the day. Kickers are not expensive. They're not terribly expensive, I should say. But then they made Chris Jones the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. Then they made Creed Humphrey the highest paid center in NFL history. Trey Smith is about to become the highest paid right guard in NFL history. Is it going to be by the Chiefs, or is it going to be by another team? That I don't know. This is the thing that kind of scares the shit out of me right now with the Chiefs. And again, they've drafted so well, so they're kind of in a situation where it's like, we can't just let these great players go, especially when they're young and in the middle, right at the start of their prime, really. But what choice do you have, especially with the offensive line? Let's not forget, Super Bowl 55, that was a pretty bad season, or a pretty bad game, where the Chiefs ended the season with all backup offensive linemen, and they cut Eric Fisher, they cut Mitchell Schwartz, two very good offensive tackles, and they revamped that entire offensive line in one season. That included the interior trio of Thuney, Smith, and Humphrey. And One of those guys just got traded. One of them just got traded. Tyler Lockett just got released. Did he really? Did Tyler Lockett really just get released? Maybe I missed that. Maybe it happened earlier in the week. It said the Seahawks threatened to cut potential. Okay, let me double check on that. I know there's been some rumors about Tyler Lockett and all these things, but oh, you're right. He did just get cut. You were not lying. He just tweeted it. Okay, my bad for questioning you. I was a little confused. Yeah, the Seahawks just released, which, by the way, speaking of teams over the cap, the Seahawks were over the cap 27 hours ago. If you want to look at specifics here, in terms of teams, the Seahawks, they were $7 million over the cap in the red. And now I think they're about $20 million under. So they have had to make some difficult moves. Do the Chiefs have to do anything like that coming up soon? I mean, like I said, after Joe Thuney, who else has the big cap saving number on the team? There aren't a lot of guys. It's Travis Kelce and Trey Smith. That's it. If you want to go down the list, the next highest would be, it's a tie between Chanel Williams and Watson at $3.4 million. Those are all guys on rookie deals right now. It's not the greatest situation if you're Kansas City. There's a lot Kansas City has to figure out in the coming days. So we'll see what the Chiefs do, but it is not going to be easy. Hey, we're going to continue more of this. There's a lot of news out there, a lot of rumors, a lot of things the Chiefs could do. And we'll talk about that more in just a moment here. Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break here and spend a moment to talk about my friends over at Fathead. Fathead has the best life-size wall graphics of your favorite players and team logos and has been going strong for almost 2 decades. Maybe you're looking to spice up your man cave where you watch all of your sports. Perhaps you want to add to your room where you have all of your sports memorabilia. You can get something that looks cool for your kid's bedroom. Or maybe you're a Swiftie and you want Taylor Swift's boyfriend as part of your celebrity wall. Fathead is the place to go, and if you're a Chiefs fan, you can get Fatheads of your favorite current and former Chiefs players such as Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, Derek Thomas, and more. For those of you watching on the live stream, look for my exclusive Fathead link in the comments right now. And for those listening to the audio version, look for my exclusive Fathead link in the podcast description. When you use my link, you will get free standard US shipping when you place an order on Fathead. Use my exclusive Fathead link, get yourself some Chiefs Fathead swag, and take advantage of free shipping in the United States. All right, welcome back in, guys. Do we bring back Nick Bolton? Caleb's asking. No, I would be surprised. The Chiefs would have to do some serious negotiating, and the cap situation just doesn't really allow you to do that. That's why I put out the idea. I'm not suggesting it, but I put out the idea that Trey Smith could get traded. Again, that's not an ideal thing for Trey Smith to get traded, but not bringing back Nick Bolton, that's not ideal either. I'm telling you guys, I said this last offseason. I said that you got to do the three-peat, because if you do the turnover this offseason, I mean, there's going to be a lot of it, which we're already seeing, and the three-peat would kind of ease the pain a little bit. But you didn't get the three-peat, not the worst thing in the world. Chiefs still have won 3 Super Bowls in the span of 5 years. And they still keep reaching the AFC title game every single season. But the Chiefs are kind of still in a pickle right now with their roster at the moment here. So when you look at the Chiefs, who else could they not bring back? Well, one guy could be Justin Reed. I think I've been saying for a while, I think Justin Reed has played his last game in a Chiefs uniform. And I don't say that, lightly or with any conviction or anything. I'm a big fan of Justin Reed. I think he's underrated and underappreciated, even in Kansas City. I don't know. I don't get the hate for Justin Reed by a lot of Chiefs fans. I really don't. I mean, that's a position where You've seen a lot of turnover from Eric Berry to Tyrann Mathieu to Justin Reed. There have been some really good players at that safety position the last 10 to 15 years. And Reed is certainly part of that. But again, given the cap situation, it's not easy to keep everyone. And Nate Taylor of The Athletic, he reported that Justin Reed is not likely to come back. Justin Reed responded to that tweet and he said, well, that's news, ... I mean, listen, I'm not saying players don't know things, they do, but sometimes the media finds out a little bit before them, maybe just right before them. And I know that's kind of a cruel reality, but that is the reality. That, you know, sometimes the media finds out things before the players do. I think we've seen it in years past where players have admitted that they found out that they got traded or they got benched through TV. Didn't Eli Manning find out through the media, like from SportsCenter or something, that he was getting benched? I mean, listen, these players watch the news. They don't want to admit to it, but they watch SportsCenter and all those things when they're waking up, doing their morning routine, eating breakfast, whatever. Or maybe they find out from a friend who got a Bleacher Report notification and they immediately say, hey, Nikki, did you really get benched here or are you really moving on? It's like, what are you talking about? And that's kind of how they find out. Michael says Bolton walks, unfortunately. Leo, Tranquil, and who would your other linebacker be? Maybe bring back Willie. I don't know what he's going to cost. That's the thing. This is the way I know I'm giving a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not giving a lot of committal answers to your guys' questions today. And I apologize because I do appreciate you guys watching, interacting with me and all those things. But I can't sit here and, you know me, I keep it 100. I keep it real with you guys. I truly don't know what's going to happen with the Chiefs roster-wise this year. I told you guys a year ago, I said there's going to be a lot of turnover in the 2025 offseason. And you're starting to see that. Joe Thuney's one of them. It looks like they're going to keep Trey Smith. Looks like. I'm not going to pencil that in as guaranteed, but it sounds like they're going to keep him. Nick Bolton could be done, though. Justin Reed might be a goner. One name that I'm not too happy about would be leaving Kansas City, Treshaun Wharton. There have already been rumors out there that Wharton could be a surprise free agent signing, a big signing. I mean, teams are willing to pay for Treshaun Wharton. I think he's played well in 2 straight Super Bowls against 2 phenomenal running backs. Christian McCaffrey, the way he played in 2023, and this past year with the type of season that Barkley just had. He was shut down in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, the other 21 players for the Eagles stepped up. Charles Omenihu, are you able to bring him back? We already talked about Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. Is Josh Uche going to come back? Carson Wentz looks like he's already being targeted by the Browns. Now, backup quarterback, that's not the worst thing in the world, but you want to have that viable option there, a viable backup at least. Samaje Perine, we have not heard anything about him. We haven't heard anything about Kareem Hunt. There was a report earlier in the offseason that Justin Watson is unlikely to come back. Mike Pennell, who's played 2 stints for the Chiefs and has been very good both times. By the way, we don't talk special teams often. The Chiefs, a week from now, if they do not re-sign James Winchester or Matt Araiza, the Chiefs are going to start the new league year without a punter and without a long snapper. Because Matt Araiza is not on a contract either. Najee Johnson, Peyton Hendershot, who you traded for, Jody Fortson, who's been around the team a long time, on and off, but still, McCole Hardman came back, Kareem Hunt. I mean, it's a long list of guys here. The only 2 things we have seen the Chiefs do, they kept Baylor Cupp. They brought back Blake Lynch, a linebacker who was one of the few bright spots in that Week 18 Broncos game. They tagged Trey Smith, and they traded Joe Thuney. That is all the Chiefs have done this offseason. And I said on Monday, The Chiefs were at the time 17 million over the cap. It's now 18 million because of the Blake Lynch re-signing. But I said on Monday, expect the Chiefs to start making some moves. And they just made one, trading Thuney. But they've got to make moves before that. Yeah, I agree with you, Kerry. Wharton has to stay. I mean, outside of Thuney, like I'm just looking at the list right now. If you are giving me 3 players without any cap stress, any of that I can keep, one of my 3 guys is Treshaun Wharton. I mean, that guy has been very underappreciated. Now, I'm sure scouts and general managers have noticed, hence why he's probably bound to get a big deal somewhere. I don't think it's going to be in Kansas City, though. I do not want to see Treshaun Wharton in another team's uniform because that team is going to get a monster defensive tackle. I don't think he's going to be as great as Chris Jones or Aaron Donald, but I think he's going to be, a top 10 interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He kind of gets overshadowed here in Kansas City because of Chris Jones. By the way, if you're wondering who my other 2 would be, I guess I'd go with Charles Omenihu and Hollywood Brown. Yeah, if you could give me 3 guys to keep, and I guess you kind of have to be somewhat realistic with the cap. Charles Omenihu, Hollywood Brown, and Treshaun Wharton. That's why I would want to see stay in Kansas City. But if you could even keep one of those 3, I'd be happy. Yeah, Michael, he looked really good stopping the run this year. He was a huge reason why the Chiefs finished very high in stopping. The Chiefs did not allow one single running back to rush for 100 yards this year. There was only one player that ran for 100 yards against the Chiefs this year, and that was Lamar Jackson, and that was the very first game of the NFL season. That's it. He's the only one who ran for 100 yards on KC. Lamar Jackson, the only one. Teresa said, so tired of the Chiefs playing fill the spot with Reed's position. Keep Reed for the love of God. Yeah, but Teresa, how? Like, I'm not saying I'm glad Reed's leaving. I hate that Thuney is gone, but I understand why. It's not like the Chiefs are like, yeah, we don't like you no more. It's kind of like, think of it this way. It's kind of like being in a long distance relationship, or you're about to be in a long distance relationship, because, you got your career and your significant other has their career, and you're wondering, could it work long term? Could we get married? But if they're both committed to their careers very much, might not work out, especially if they live hours and hours away. How do you make that work? That's kind of the best way I can really compare it to, because I just think that's what's happening right now. It looks like they're trying to avoid 1-year deals. Yeah, that can kind of hurt them down the road, though, depending on what that contract looks like. Again, I know we're discussing so many hypotheticals right now, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's kind of, we're just kind of looking at things right now. We don't know what this offseason is going to look like. I knew there's going to be a lot of turnover. I hope there's a way they can free up enough cap space to keep everyone else that they have for now and then bring in Ronnie Stanley. Because if you can do that, I'd consider it a good offseason. I really do. If there's any way they can keep Hollywood Brown and Treshaun Wharton, I think that would be huge for Kansas City's offense. The Hollywood part, of course, and Treshaun for defense. I'm just looking at the Chiefs right now and their whole cap situation. Again, they're in a bad spot right now. They are currently, what are they at right now? So over the cap has them at $2.9 million over the cap, almost $3 million. So they're getting close. A Mahomes restructure really would change a lot of things. I'm just looking at the offseason right now for the Chiefs. I'm looking at the 2026 offseason. The Chiefs right now have more than $82 million in cap room. I don't know if the Chiefs go back to a Super Bowl in 2025. But in 2026, Travis Kelce's contract is up. Oh, by the way, what happens if you cut Jawan Taylor next year? You save $20 million in cap room. The Chiefs could easily go into 2026 with $102 million in cap space. Let me just do the math on that real quickly. So if you were to cut him, cut him for next year, not this year. Yeah, $102 million in cap space if you cut Jawan Taylor next offseason, which I think the Chiefs are looking forward to that day. I really do. You got to figure something out if you're Kansas City, because this is right now a weird situation where, oh, by the way, if you cut Patrick Mahomes, you save $50 million in cap room. I have a feeling they don't want to do that, though. The over the cap calculator is a lot of fun to play with. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen this year. It's going to get weird. I don't think this is going to be a very exciting offseason. I'm just telling you guys right now, for all of you watching this, and I know more will watch the archive version later, I'm just telling you right now, this is not going to be a very exciting offseason for the Chiefs. If you're expecting some big names, I know Tyler Lockett, you guys are already mentioning him as a name to bring in. He just got cut. But realistically, how do you make that work unless you absolutely can restructure Mahomes, Kelce, and Taylor? Let me go back to that calculator real quickly. Try one more thing. Let's go to 2025. Let's restructure Mahomes. Yeah, sure. I'll just give them whatever number they're giving. If you can restructure Mahomes, you go from $2 million in the red to $36 million in cap room. That's a shit ton of money for Kansas City, considering, they're about to pay Trey Smith, and that number won't change a whole lot for the cap space, but that's going to help. That is going to help a lot. Yeah, let me restructure Mahomes. That puts you at $36 million. Would Jawan Taylor be willing to restructure? Because if you do that, gives you about, give or take, $10 million more. Now, it does hurt you for 2026. That drops you to $63 million instead of $82 million in cap space. But I guess we're not too worried about that right now. What if you restructured? Well, you can't really restructure Kelce because he's on the final year of his deal. Can you renegotiate any of that? I don't even know what just happened. But restructuring Mahomes alone helps a lot. It does help a lot. We'll see what happens. All I know is the next 7 days are going to be very, very interesting. How that affects, it does affect them. When I did the Mahomes and the Taylor restructure, that dropped the Chiefs from $82 million to $63 million, which still a lot of money. But obviously that's not considering draft picks and all those things that players who you could get and all of that. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. If you do restructure Mahomes, let's see if the Chiefs were to, I mean, what's Hollywood's base salary going to be? Let's just say, oh no, I don't think you can do that. Let's just say $8 million because that's what it was. Yeah, it's doable. It is doable. Yeah, if you go to overthecap.com/calculator/Kansas-City-Chiefs, you can play with this and it's like a rabbit hole. You'll get lost for hours on this kind of thing. At least it's easy to get lost for hours on this kind of thing. All I know is within the next 7 days, it's going to start to get a little wild with Chiefs news here. Obviously, the combine, a lot of that has been wrapped up here. Let me just say one quick thing, because there's a lot of talk about who was it? Sanders not throwing at the combine. Yeah, Shitter Sanders not throwing at the combine. And there was a report that came out. One NFL team said that they just didn't get a good impression of him at the combine. Now, look at a guy like Shedeur Sanders. I didn't realize this until recently. He's got his own YouTube channel. It's got 109,000 subscribers, excuse me. I mean, this guy's already making money off the field. I mean, if you've got a really strong following on social media, especially YouTube, and I'm sure there are some endorsements. I'm watching right now, and there's a Nike commercial in there. So he's making pretty good money on it. And I know there's some concern with the Sanders family. Could that turn into a circus, kind of like the Ball family in the NBA a couple of years ago? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens there. Luther Burden to KC. There's some speculation that he could drop. If Kansas City can get Ronnie Stanley, which, by the way, Chris, I see your question. Who could they go after offensive line wise? Yeah, Ronnie Stanley's the name. If they get Ronnie Stanley and they find a way to land Luther Burden, oh boy, I like that. I like that a lot. That would definitely change my prediction of the Chiefs and their chances of going back to a Super Bowl. I certainly like that a lot. All right. Hey, listen, we covered a lot of ground here. Obviously, a unique time where we did the podcast. So I appreciate all of you who tuned in and watched live. For those of you who missed us live, yeah, I know, a little bit of a surprise here, but that's what happens when Joe Thuney gets traded here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm sure we'll have more reactions as the week goes on. A reminder, Red Friday live chat this Red Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Join us. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about with the departure of Joe Thuney, what else the Chiefs could be doing by that time in terms of restructuring deals. The negotiating period is going to begin very soon. Does that ramp up the possibility of them getting Ronnie Stanley? We'll talk about all of that and much more on the Red Friday live chat. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you for joining me. I'll talk to you all later.